Howdy howdy, my name is John, and this video is a review of the book, The Black Company by Glen. This is the first book in the Black Company series. This book that I'm holding is a bind-up of the first three, and it's just a little over 200 pages. My bookmark marks the place where the first book ends and the second book begins. This book was first published back in 1984. But I'd never heard of it until I started watching BookTube, and I'm pretty sure the first review of this I saw was on the Library of Alexandria's channel, and I'll link his review in the description below. And then I watched another review by Mark from over at Slowly Read. Because of those two reviews, I'd already purchased the book. When Mark announced that he was going to be leading a read-along of the books, I knew that I had to join up. This book is unlike anything I've ever read before. Typically, I like my fantasy lighthearted and fun. This book is anything but lighthearted and fun. The Black Company is an independent military mercenary group. Basically, they fight for whatever side is willing to pay them. If you've read Lord of the Rings, you know the battle scenes don't really get the number of pages in the books. Now, they get a lot of screen time in the movie, but in the books, not a lot of page count. Well, that's not the case in these books. While I've not read many fantasy books like this, I've definitely watched movies that are more in this vein, and I have played video games that are kind of more in this vein. Everyone in the company has colorful names. For example, Curly naturally is bald. Silent is, well, silent. The main character, and this is a first-person narrative, is a physician named Croker. And I'll have to admit, it took me a few pages before I caught the pun there. In addition to being the company's physician, Croker is also the company's analyst. Basically, he writes the records of the company's deed. Once a month, he actually reads pages from the old company records. The company is centuries years old. The company lives in a world that's very dark. There really aren't good guys in this world. They're just less evil guys. And very early in the book, they're hired to fight for one side of a civil war. The writing in this novel is very dense. Cook packs a lot of material into a very few words. And he doesn't always spend the time to explain things. He's not holding the reader's hand while you're reading this. He'll throw a concept out there and not bother to explain it. You have to keep reading and kind of figure things out on your own. And in the first two chapters, I had trouble kind of getting into a rhythm of reading the novel because it's really short scene after short scene after short scene. And these scenes, maybe a page or two. Sometimes the scenes aren't even a page. And it's, pages upon pages of this. Fortunately, while I was reading the first two chapters especially, I remember that Alan had said that the first book, really, it was a bit rough, and that really, if you read the first book, you should also read the second book. And that kind of helped motivated me to keep reading. To me, at least, the novel gets better the further you get into it. The scenes get a little bit longer, and it's a little bit easier to kind of develop a rhythm to read this. The book is just a little over 200 pages, and there are only 7 chapters in the book. And the 7th chapter is very short. This novel really shines in the 6th chapter, which is the next to last chapter. This is a great big final battle scene, and it's really well written. The novel, up until I got to chapter 6, was definitely a, kind of middle of the road 3-star novel. But that 6th chapter elevated it from a 3-star novel to a 4-star novel for me. So that would be my advice to you if you decide to pick up this book. If you find it hard to engage with the story early on, keep reading, because Like I said, it does get better the farther into it you read. One thing I was concerned about was how graphic the violence got in this book. Now, there are some pretty ugly scenes in this book, but the book doesn't really dwell on these scenes, just kind of introduces them to you and doesn't dwell on them. I'm new to the grimdark subgenre of fantasy. From everything I've been told, this is the book that gives the subgenre its beginning. Subgenre that you enjoy, you should definitely give this book a try. It looks like I'm part of the Black Company now, and the only way out of the company is feet first. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.